It's good to have you with us. Let's focus on this now. And the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to appear at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry on Wednesday. He will testify on matters relating to the governing party. It comes at a time when divisions in the ANC are becoming clear. Daniel Silke is a political economist and joins us now for that discussion and what we can expect from President Cyril Ramaphosa and his testimony at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. Let me start with a broad question, Daniel. Your expectations, what do you expect to come out of the testimony of President Cyril Ramaphosa in his capacity as President of the ANC?
Thank you, Thulasizwe. Look, there's a lot riding on this for President Ramaphosa. I think one must take note of the fact that the president has largely been what I refer to as a teflon president over the course of the last 2-3 years or so during the height of the state capture inquiry. Nothing seems to stick on the president. In fact, by not really saying that much about the state capture issue at all, the president has been able largely to survive quite successfully, and I think his public ratings are relatively high. So the real danger for him ultimately is if he gets himself ensnared in perhaps tougher questions. And I do expect, therefore, just to answer your question directly, that the president is going to keep this pretty general. I think he's going to admit a degree of, let us say, culpability on the part of the ANC for what has happened. And I think that kind of admission of, let us say, being part of the problem, which he has done so indirectly in the past, I think is going to be almost good enough for him to continue this Teflon-like presidency that he seems to excel at.
So the Sunday Times editor, Stem Somi, writing this past weekend, suggests that, Ramaphosa's chosen path to power will be as much on trial as the ANC that he'll be representing. There's a part that I would like you to comment on. Let me just read it out. Stem Somi saying, did he keep quiet for most of the 5 years he was in office as deputy president so as not to jeopardize his chances of ascending to the union buildings, even though he could see that things were going wrong? That's the one question he asked. And then he asked, when he did finally speak out against state capture, was it too late? And did he do so only to enhance his chances now that at that point the ANC National Conference was a few months away? Pretty interesting conceptualization of it all.
Yeah, I think it's a very good summary of the game and the political game that President Ramaphosa did play. And I think when you are building together a very difficult coalition, fighting for the presidency, the ghost of Jacob Zuma very much in the rear-view mirror of President Ramaphosa, clearly he had to make certain personal compromises when it came to speaking out against state capture. When you're building those complex coalitions, yeah, I think some of the key issues that you should have been speaking about somehow fall through the cracks, because that's what politics is about to a degree. But this goes to the center of what I think we're going to hear the questioning over the course of this next week or so. The question really is, to what degree was President Ramaphosa, in his previous positions as head of government business on the NEC and as deputy president for that 4 or 5 year term, to what degree was he aware of the issues of state capture and whether or not he spoke out about this over that period? And I think that's going to be the key issue. And it is an important issue for him to clarify with South Africa. It can unsettle his presidency if he's caught up in a debate about this at the State Capture Commission. And in fact, he can undo a fair amount of the goodwill that he has managed to reclaim for himself personally over the last few years if he gets caught up in a very deep and damaging discussion. And in fact, if he gets tongue-tied on issues of just what he knew, when he knew it, and why didn't he act on what he knew.
He surely cannot suggest that he didn't know, right? Given the strategic location that he occupied in the organogram of the ANC. For instance, heading up the ANC's deployment committee. Well, many of the issues that we are dealing with have to do with people that were quote-unquote deployed to head up state-owned enterprises, to chair committees in parliament, to be deployed to parliament. Pleading ignorance just won't cut it, especially also if you add into that the whole political party funding nexus. if you are deputy president of the ANC and you're very close to Gavin Watson and Bosasa, for example, you can't turn around and plead ignorance.
No, I think South Africa is looking for accountability on this issue, and I think they are looking for the president to acknowledge these issues that you've mentioned. Now, this is a tightrope to walk indeed, because he can get ensnarled in all sorts of issues if indeed he acknowledges many of these issues. And in very, very many instances, one could argue that he acted against his oath of office when he was deputy president, if he acknowledges this. So the phraseology and wording in terms of his own representation is going to be critical how we analyze this post the evidence of the course of this week. But I do think that what we are going to see is an acknowledgement of what has happened in the broadest possible sense. And I think that there will be an admission that the oversight that should have been necessary, and that oversight really should have been necessary not only from Deputy President Ramaphosa at the time, but also from a whole host of cabinet colleagues and other members of parliament who largely were completely derelict in their duty to save South Africa from this fate of state capture. And I think we are looking, in a sense, for some sort of culpability from the ANC on this. The president has unfortunately before expressed surprise at some issues that have plagued South Africa. He can't get away with expressing surprise again on this issue.
Well, hopefully he really gets asked the tough questions. Let me, as a parting shot, share with you that one of my lasting memories of the Zuma presidency and the relation between Zuma and his then deputy, Cyril Ramaphosa, was that rally in 2016 where they were doing the dance that was a craze at the time called the dab, and they were all dabbing about, singing that Asnavalo, we're not afraid of anything. And that's the point at which serious allegations were being made, and they had thrown in their lot together, and hopefully then President Cyril Ramaphosa will get to answer some tough questions later on in the week. Daniel, Silke, thank you so much for your insights here on All Angles. You remember that dance, right? Asnavalo, this as the metros were being wrestled away from the ANC while they were singing that they're not afraid of anything, they're not worried about anything, at the point at which allegations of corruption were swirling in the country.